Okay, if you're a parent and you're raising kids, or maybe you don't have kids yet, you're thinking about having kids, or maybe you've got a young baby and they haven't really gotten to that childhood stage yet, or maybe you've got older kids and they're about to leave the house. Regardless, this video is gonna be about how to discipline your kids, because there's two things you as a parent are really desiring. The first is you want your children to be successful, right? You want them to be successful in business. You want them to be successful in relationships. You want them to be a successful contributor to society, right? You want them to be healthy physically, emotionally, all that kind of stuff. So you want them to be successful. The second thing that you want is you want them to love you as much as you love them. You want connection with them. Now, the problem is these two goals can feel a little bit in contrast to each other when it comes to disciplining and raising your kids. And the reality is we have a bunch of different voices that are telling us all sorts of stuff around parenting, and we're seeing it in the news, we're seeing it in the media. You know, it's like, hey, affirm what your children want. You know, if they identify as another gender, like, you need to affirm that. If they don't want to keep doing this sport, they don't like it, you know, let them quit. Let them just do something else that makes them feel good, that's fun, right? Or like, never say no to your kids, or like discourage them. You want to only encourage. All of this is garbage. And hopefully if you're watching this video, you already know that. But I think there's a lack in parents being equipped and encouraged and taught in how can we discipline and train our kids in a way that is honoring to the Lord and that is righteous, and that's going to end up with the two goals in mind: them being successful and you having amazing relationship and connection with them. So look, I'm a parent and I've got 3 kids, 7, 6, and 2 years old. And I'm here to say I discipline my kids a lot. And they're the most amazing, beautiful children. And I have such deep, intimate connection with them. And I'm gonna get into that, but I need to set the stage. So first, my name is Taylor. I love business. I love God. I love politics. I like working out. I love faith, family, all that good stuff. So let's set some context. What I'm going to say in terms of disciplining kids is probably not the norm. This is probably gonna be, this is gonna be going against the grain, but I need to set the context, because if we know the why, then we can feel encouraged and motivated of why you need to discipline and train your children this way. What's happening with the next generation right now? So Generation Alpha. So this would be anyone who's been born on first day of 2010 forward is Generation Alpha, okay? And to understand what is possibly gonna happen to Generation Alpha, which would be my kids, we can look at the 2 generations before that and even the generations before that. So look, this is about to offend some of you, but if I don't say truth, I'm gonna offend God, and I fear him way more than I fear you. So here it goes, I'm gonna offend you. So look, for our children to be successful and healthy, they need to have a healthy sexuality that is expressed only in the covenant of a heterosexual marriage. There you go. Trigger warning. A bunch of you are about to get pissed and you're clicking away from my video. Good for you. So look, a lot of reports though. Let's look at this practically, okay? I don't want to go like the Bible faith route with this quite yet. A lot of reports indicate that married people make anywhere from 10 to 15% more money than single people. And then you got to ask yourself why. I wonder why. Well, let's just think about it practically. You're not chasing tail. You're not out there trying to date and just sleep around. You're not engaging in the drama that we see in these sitcoms and reality TV shows. Like, you have a man or a woman that you have committed to with a public display of very, very tight covenant that is sacred. And so it's one less thing to worry about, if you think about it. And then Jones, Ethier, and Hertz, they cite that in 2021, more than a quarter, so 26% of high school students that identify in the LGBTQI arena reported attempting suicide in the prior 12 months. And that rate is 5 times higher reported among heterosexual students. So there's even an emotional mental health aspect here. See, I'm going practical. And then again, not to mention the truth, which I find truth from the Bible. Where you find truth, if it's within you, because you have your own truth, good for you. There's no such thing as relative truth, because then there's no truth at all. There must be one capital T truth. I'm not going to get into philosophy today, but I do like philosophy. A heterosexual monogamous relationship that is marriage is the most healthy, beneficial thing for your kids to get into when they become adults. Okay? So let's continue down the rabbit trail with this. So Gallup has a poll, and it shows a trend of the generational groups who are identifying in the LGBTQI group. Okay, look at this. This is interesting. This is also scary. Baby boomers, 2% of baby boomers identified in that group. Generation X, 4%. Millennials, 10%. Gen Z, 20%. Do you notice how the number keeps doubling between each generation? So I'd only expect that number to double again for Gen Alpha, which is our kids. It's unless we do something. This is a spiritual war. This is not just a cultural war. So why are more and more kids getting confused on their sexual orientation, their gender, and all that kind of stuff? Well, I think education, media, and fatherlessness, those three things are the most contributing factors to the issue that's happening with our kids. So look, that means only healthy fathers who take leadership in disciplining their children and training their children well in the home is what's going to change all this. So let's look at fatherlessness first. The US Census Bureau for 2022 shows that 1 in 4 children have no father in the home. Okay, Pew Research in 2020 shows that 61% of women say that feminism describes them very well. So that means the notion of healthy men as leaders in the household, that is going away. In fact, it's being demonized and it's being said as toxic. So of course, why do we see a bunch of passive or uninvolved dads in the home? Because the women are also part of the problem, saying that it's wrong and it's patriarchy and it's misogynistic. Okay, let's look at the welfare state too. The welfare state encourages women to stay single because if they become married, which doubles their income according to tax standards, then they lose a lot of their benefits. So even our welfare state is encouraging women to stay single, which keeps men out of the home. Pew Research from 2019 shows that people 30 years old and younger, only 16% are married. That is down from 31% in 1995. So through a generation, the frequency of marriage is getting cut in half. Less and less people are getting married. Okay? This is an issue. Let's look at education now, right? Gender identity, sexual orientation, what positions like in a homosexual sexual expression should a person be doing? That crap is being brought into the education system, and our kids are being indoctrinated by this stuff. And this is why I think all the stats and things are happening. Let's look at media. The National Institute of Health, shows that there has been a 91% increase in the consumption of pornographic material and solo masturbation since 2000. So again, through the course of a generation, it has doubled. And obviously we have more access to media via tablets and phones and devices and all that kind of stuff. So look, our children need to be trained. They need to be disciplined. They need to be corrected. They need to be told what is true, okay? So what are gonna be the benefits of disciplining your kids the right way? The first thing I wrote down is that conflict breeds intimacy. Have you ever had a fight with your wife and then you just feel closer, more connected because you were authentic, you shared your fears, your troubles, like things that are going through your mind. You put it out there, you put it in the light, you have a conversation. Yeah, there's some tears, but it breeds more intimacy. You feel more connected, more known. Okay, it's no different with our kids. When we can approach conflict and even though it's hard and there can be crying and all that kind of stuff, it's gonna breed intimacy with them. Okay, because both of you are coming into those experiences with vulnerability. Okay, the next thing is having boundaries creates trust and safety. I think a lot of times we put the boundary lines too close to our kids and we want to just keep them from any exposure to anything evil or bad or whatever. The problem is, I was learning this from my spiritual dad. He was saying this last night actually. When you grow a tree, you have to give it a little wiggle room with supports that allow the plant or the tree to have some wiggle room so that it can develop some strength, right? Because if you don't give it any boundaries, the wind or whatever will just throw it down. If you over restrict it and then you take it off, it'll fall down because it won't have strong enough roots. So you need to give your kids some boundaries because you're teaching them autonomy, you're teaching them how to make good choices, but then you're also are protecting them healthily. Also, character can only come from difficulty. So like when our kids experience discipline, that is brought on from us, and that's difficult in their mind, and it's not what they want, and they're not getting their way. That is going to produce character. Your muscles don't grow when you don't put an uncomfortable amount of resistance on them. If you do the same weight over and over, you stop adapting. Okay, it's the same emotionally and with our character. If you want your kids to have strong character, they need to go through difficulty. Plus, we want to teach our kids what truth is. And if we don't discipline them and correct them around truth, they aren't ever going to learn what truth is. And then they'll fall into this crap hole of, oh, everything, my truth is my truth and let me live by my truth. The consistency of correction is going to produce a new behavior too. So when you guys are consistent in disciplining, you literally see your kids change. Plus, on that note, we help separate the behavior from our kids from their identity. Because oftentimes, and I've made this mistake too, and maybe you have, you're like, you are so dumb. Why did you do that? Okay, that is an identity statement. That is going to hurt your kid versus, son, the choice you just made was dumb. But I know that's not you. And so you're helping train your kids how to separate behavior from their identity, which is healthy. I was gonna say too, above the way you're gonna discipline your kids, the way you live your life, our kids are observant. They see and hear everything, okay? How they see you live will teach them more than what you say and how you correct them and through your disciplining. So how do I discipline my kids? Now that I've said enough freaking context, I'm so sorry that was long-winded, but I had to do it. So obviously discipline is gonna come from disobedience, right? And we wanna teach our kids obedience because even as adults, we have to obey the law, we have to obey bosses and superiors, and above all else, we need to obey the Lord, right? And so we're teaching our kids obedience. So first thing with disciplining is you have to set expectations, right? What is truth? What is right? What is wrong? That needs to be clearly communicated. And obviously you need to contextualize that based on their age. But it's like telling our kids, hey, don't go past this light in the cul-de-sac. That's too far. So if you pass that, that's a discipline, right? So it needs to be clear. Once you do that, you do want to give your kids autonomy. You want to give them a choice. You shouldn't be overly micromanaging your kids because then they can't learn to choose for themselves. You want to give them choices, but what you do is you supply consequences for bad choices and reward for good choices. And that's what discipline essentially is. So some of the consequences that we supply with our kids, obviously, I think spanking's fine. It's light. You shouldn't be leaving a mark. And I'm going to talk about this more in a minute. So that's one. Taking money, because we give our kids ideas and entrepreneurial ways to earn money or to go above and beyond the household needs. So if they do a chore that's above and beyond the household needs, then they can get paid for that. So they can even lose money, because when we make mistakes as adults, we lose money, right? If you run past the red light, you pay a ticket. If you do this, you get a fine. Other stuff, we take away their toys or losing a privilege like screen time. Okay, so here's how I actually walk out the process of discipline. So let's say my kid, they say something that I know is a lie. And I'm like, hey, is that the truth? My son will say, no. Okay, what was the truth? This. Okay, well, you chose discipline because you know that we don't lie in this home. Yeah, so we go into a private room. I'll leave the other kids. It's private, so there's no shame. I say, okay, so you chose discipline. So let's say it's a spanking. So we use like a little SWAT thing so it doesn't leave a mark, but it gives a little sting. And sometimes he'll cry and be upset about it. But then once it's over, I'm like, hey, you are not a liar. You are a truth bearer. You tell the truth. And I love you. And I love how you're a truth bearer. Can you say sorry for saying a lie because that's not you? Yeah, Dad, I'm sorry. Hey, I forgive you, son. Can you ask God to forgive you? God, will you forgive me? What did he say? He said yes. Cool, I love you, buddy. And I give him a hug. So you see, none of this is done out of anger or frustration, because What I have seen a lot of parents do with discipline is like, get over here. I can't believe you did that. Pa, pa, pa. Whoa. That is actually not building trust in connection with your kids, because now you're sinning because you are actually almost being violent out of anger, and that would be wrong. If you are getting frustrated, because we're allowed to be frustrated, we're allowed to feel anger, you need to wait and diffuse yourself and get into a calm state so that you can approach the discipline with your kids the right way. Now, I want to say, relationship will give you permission to do this disciplining, because you cannot have rules without relationship, okay? And so you need to be building relationship with your kids if you're going to have heavy discipline and rules and correction and training happening, because otherwise they're going to resent you, and you're going to create bitterness them towards you because you don't do any relationship with them. I'm sorry, 20 minutes of your day is not enough to build relationship with your kids. I mean, think about it. If you wake up, you're doing coffee, you're getting yourself ready, hey, kids get ready, and you shuttle them off to school, and then you go to work, and then you pick them up from school and say, hey guys, get your homework done, okay, and it's okay, we gotta get dinner, hey, get on the plate, okay, hey, we gotta go get ready for bed, hey, brush your teeth, hey, get your PJs on, all right guys, good night. Was there any relationship built? Now, I'm not saying you need to, have a kumbaya session with your kids every night, but I think being more intentional about listening to them, get on the ground and play with them on their level. Play imagination with them. Like, be silly with them. That builds trust, relationship, connection with them. So that way you are doing both. You're being their teacher, their trainer, their coach, their disciplinarian, their parent, but you're also being their friend, their buddy. The other thing we do is we make sure, okay, if we're going to course correct and discipline around bad behavior, we need to similarly do as much of that towards good behavior, if not more. So when our kids say something nice to each other, high five, dude, I love that you said that to your sister. That was so sweet. That's amazing, right? Or if they go pray for somebody and we didn't even ask them to go pray for someone, we're like, dude, that was amazing. You hear the Holy Spirit. That is so cool, buddy. You're awesome. So we're encouraging them, high-fiving them, giving them words of affirmation. We want to encourage the good behavior, because that is actually going to probably motivate the behavior you want to see more than the consequence stuff. We'll give our kids 30 minutes a day of screen time, but it must be earned. So it's a privilege, right? It's like, hey, you want to go on a vacation? Well, you're not entitled to vacation. You have to work hard to make money to go on the vacation. So we're trying to teach our kids similar, cause and effects. So if they want their screen time, then they have to do it by reading 20 pages in the Bible and doing chores, right? So my son, he likes watching a show in the morning. Great. Did you do the dishes? Does the dishes. Did you do your 20 pages? Did my 20. Great. You get your 20 minutes. You sure you want to use it now? On that, I think you guys can discipline your kids through work. My 7-year-old, he's 7. He's been doing this since he was 5. He cuts the grass. Yeah, I let him use electric or motorized equipment. He's safe. We've shown him how to operate and do it. He crushes it. He'll take the trash out. He'll unload the dishes. He'll put dishes away. My 2-year-old will put laundry away in the laundry pantry. Our kids will fold clothes. Your kids can do more than you think. And it's important that they learn discipline through work ethic. Now, the discipline will evolve by age, and this is just what I've noticed. So I saw and knew even around 10 months to a year old, on the changing table, and I'd be like, hey, lay flat, and he'd roll over. But hey, buddy, don't do that. You need to lay flat. And he'll roll over again. He's doing it intentionally. That's disobedience. That's the start of disobedience. Now, obviously, you need to contextualize the discipline. So we would do a little pinch on the hand or something like that, and they would understand that they did something wrong. But the same process of encouragement, forgiveness, and love, not doing it out of frustration. And then as the kids get older, you can do some of the other forms of physical discipline, like a swat or a spank or things like that. I personally don't like timeout, because when my kids mess up, I don't want them to go into isolation, because that teaches our kids when they mess up to go isolate, which means partnership with shame. And I don't like that. I don't want my kids to partner with shame. And so we don't do the timeout thing, or spending time alone. So even though I correct, train, discipline my kids often, They love me so much. It was actually really cool. So the other night we're having dinner, and it's chaotic. If any of you have children and you go to dinner, you know it's freaking crazy. So we're at dinner and the kids are going nuts and stuff, but we're having fun, we're laughing, we're talking. A couple comes over and they say, hey, I just wanted to say, you have a beautiful family. It's so refreshing to see that none of your kids have a tablet. You guys are all laughing, you're talking, you're engaging in their conversations, you're interested in what they're saying. And we just think that's really beautiful. And it was just so encouraging, you know? And like my kids, even though they get disciplined a lot, because I build a relationship with them, I can't get them off me. They want to hold, you know, they want to be held all the time. My 7-year-old wants hugs. He wants me to stroke his hair on his head. You know, they want to wrap their arms around my neck. They run up to me and give me random kisses. They come up to me random and be like, you're the best daddy. I love you, daddy. And there's just so much love and connection there. And so they know that I'm not just a disciplinarian, a parent, a teacher, but I'm also not just a buddy and a friend. They have a very healthy view of authority, but also closeness and relationship. And really that should mirror our relationship with God, right? It's like he is the authority. He's holy. He's perfect, but he can be our friend. But in scripture, it says he's our friend through obedience to him. And if we want to know the secrets that he has, it has to come out of the fruit of obedience. And obedience comes out of a healthy reverence and fear. And so I think even learning how to parent well is also teaching me how to be a son well with my relationship with God. So if this was at all helpful or insightful, again, I apologize for a lot of the context at the beginning. I felt like that was necessary of why I think we need to discipline our kids in a certain way. If you like this or you have comments, questions, please let me know, and I'll catch you on the next video.